Hi, I'm Monica Nguyen, and I chose this short story, The Search Engine, which is with the theme identity. The following quotes will support the theme of identity as well as the photos. So, the first quote is he wore his long blonde hair pulled back into a ponytail, and he was a narcissistic, androgynous, lovely, and yes, charming. So in the first pages, it shows Corliss making accusations about a couple she sees. I believe this ties into the theme because I think it shows her judging others and their identity, which hints how much she cares about others and their identities in the first place because she, in secret, heavily struggles with her own. The photo is just a bunch of people all blended together. This photo is meant to represent how Corliss just sees a bunch of people in their own colors, but in the end sees them all with the same stereotypical identity through her assumptions. That's why they're all kind of like blended together because they're all just the same to her. The second quote is her hoping the couple she sees would be actual angels rather than what she had assumed. Her expressing her delight if that were to happen exposes her true feelings within herself, which is that she doesn't want to be tied down to the stereotypes for Indians because she believes inside that it is not her true identity. The photo is meant to represent Corliss and her bad assumptions on the devil side, and the angel side is meant to be what she hopes them to be, which is angels. Moving on to the third quote, she describes how, as a middle class Indian, she is destined for a minimum wage life. However, she wants to have a maximum life and expresses how she fought to be in public schools rather than the Indian reservation. This shows her want to escape her Indian stereotype identity and be something bigger. This shows her journeying to finding her identity, and the picture represents the trap that Indian stereotypes try to make her be by baiting her, which is the cheese, into being like every other Indian in order to be quote unquote normal. This quote here shows her true identity, which is how much she loves books, and her dramatic way of saying that reveals how much she loves books and how smart she is. She clearly goes against her Indian stereotype, which she explains many times in the story, which is that Indians hate poetry. The photo is by Yuko, which represents the happiness of Corliss when many books are surrounding her. And in the photo, the lady is clearly happy with books all around her, just like Corliss is. This next quote is when Corliss again exposes her personal struggle of finding her way out of her stereotypes for her true book loving identity when she talks about the librarian having the glasses and her reserved stereotype look that librarians have, and her want of the librarian to just get contacts and leather chaps shows how much she, inside really wants to fight her own stereotypes. The photo is a picture of the librarian, and I chose the one from Monsters Inc. because she shows every stereotype not Indians that librarians have, which is like the glasses and the plain collar white look. This quote is Corliss expressing a question saying, "What kind of Indian loses their mind over poems?" Almost as if she's disappointed in the type of Indian she is. However, when she says it's the only Indian she knows how to be, she almost comes to term with that identity, but still showing how she struggles with her Indian identity. The photo is of a person stressed with books all around them, which I chose it because it represents Corliss and her losing her mind over poems. The next quote is Corliss explaining how her family will never understand how sometimes she doesn't feel like an Indian because instead she feels like a white old man. Her identity is to herself a mystery because she sees someone completely different from what she looks at in the mirror. The photo here is of a woman who sees someone else but has a straight look on her face. representing Corliss and her disappointment when seeing that she sees someone else when she looks in the mirror as well. This quote is when she sees or she meets Harlan Atwater, but she gets upset when she finds out she's it's not who she wants it to be. She reveals her whole point in finding him, which is to feel better about her poem-loving Indian identity. She wanted to see him successful and see an incredible person because she badly, or so badly, wants to see her in the future and show her family an Indian that is like her, so she doesn't feel so disconnected from her family. She wanted to see another Indian breaking that stereotype in a successful way. She needed him to be someone better. The photo represents the guy to be Atwater, surrounded by Corliss and her hands just shoving expectations at his face and him being overwhelmed and confused by it. The next quote is Corliss revealing Indians and how they form their identity by looking at how other Indians act. She mocks at how Indians all end up being the same and fitting into that stereotype, and she wants to show her true identity, however, which is why she fights to be in public schools, as mentioned before. The photo here represents all the other Indians that judge Corliss due to her love of poems and academics and being saddened by it. This last quote is Atwater asking Corliss what kind of Indian he is because he was raised by a white family. He shows his confusion in his identity with being Indian and him questioning his identity ties with Corliss and her struggle with what identity she defines herself as. I believe you shouldn't define your identity just by your race because you begin to, like Corliss, be confused and upset. Instead, look into the things you like and identify by that person you are rather than the stereotype you think you are destined to be. Lastly, this photo is of a man who doesn't know what door to pick, which represents Atwater in his struggle of if he is truly Indian or white and his struggle of which door to pick. This is my works cited page. Thank you.